Well, kia ora koutou everyone. Nice rainy day. My name's Pim Demonchi from Toimoana Regional Council, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about Papahikawai restoration in Makitu Estuary, for those of you who are interested. So Makitu Estuary has long been important to Te Arawa. It's the landing place of the canoe around about 1350, and it's where the Kaituna River emerges into the Pacific Ocean after coming down from Rotorua and Rotoiti. The Kaituna River brings with it about 2.9 million cubic metres of fresh water every tidal cycle. And unfortunately in 1956, all of that water was diverted out to sea just before it reached the estuary. This project is part of some work we're doing to bring back 20% of the Kaituna River to Makitu Estuary. So Papahikawai is Māori land inside the estuary. It's been grazed for many years, and we have been working together with Whare Te Moni, the late Tony Morgan and other owners to set up an agreement to restore the island. This is a picture of the project. You can see Papahikawai Island at the top of the screen, and you can see what the new environment will look like after the river has been rediverted into the estuary. See the new channel down the bottom of your screen taking water up to and underneath Ford Road and into the estuary. So there are three things that we've done this year already ahead of the main construction works which will start next year. Those three things are removal of causeways blocking the estuarine flows on the northern side of Papahikawai and building a bridge to provide access for the owners. The third thing is the southern shoreline of the island. We've changed it from a pampas covered stopbank to a more natural estuarine feature. As part of the agreement with the island owners, we've compensated them for the loss of their grazing income, and that has led to a 25-year kawanata agreement being placed over the island so that activities are consistent with restoration rather than grazing. We've also come up with an agreement together with Ngā Whenua Rāhui, which is an arm of the Department of Conservation, to fund the replanting of the island. And over the last 2 years, about 15,000 plants have been put in by the owners together with Te Runanga o Ngāti Whakauia ki Makitu, the Makitu School, the Surf Club, the Fire Brigade, and many local community members. So we're onto some pictures now so we can show you what we're talking about. This is a picture of Papahikawai Lagoon. 13 hectares of Makitu Estuary that has been isolated from the tide and the river since 1963, and you can see it's quite unhealthy because of all that algae, that green and orange muck floating on the surface. It's got very low oxygen levels and is relatively dead in terms of invertebrate and bird and fish life. What we did was we took out that causeway blocking it and built this bridge. And this was the day that the causeway was removed, on the 6th of June. So you can see the new bridge, and you can see the removed causeway just behind it. And you see there's still quite a lot of macroalgae, we call it, that green stuff floating in the water column. Here's a picture taken just before the causeway was removed, looking straight down, so you can see all that algae in the water. Very, very low oxygen levels. And the next picture is taken 3 weeks later. You can see how it's been started to flush out really nicely. And in that area there, we're now picking up shellfish. We're picking up what we call benthic invertebrates. So these are boneless critters that live in the sand, and they are driving the rest of the food chain. I'll talk to you in a moment about some fish monitoring too. So that's looking back up that channel that I showed you a picture of before, and you can see it's not absolutely clear of algae, but it's definitely heading that way. The other causeway that exists, you'll see the vehicle track from the bridge back towards the mainland, and that causeway between the island and the land will be removed at some stage towards the end of next year, and that will increase the flushing again, as well as adding fresh water as well as the seawater that's been allowed to enter that 13 hectare part of the estuary. Okay, now this is an interesting bit. I'm going to introduce you to a new word. It's a French Cajun word called chenier. Now, the island owners didn't want to have their stock bank covered in pampas there. They wanted to replace it with something more natural. So what we did was we went around the estuary and we found other features that we could mimic. So we looked at, for example, the natural chenier that exists near Whakawe Kaipapa and we looked at the elevation, we looked at the slope, and we looked at the plants that were on there, and we designed this new structure, this new feature, to mimic that. The first thing we had to do was take off all this pampas grass which has been growing on the stock bank since 1971, and then we brought in 7,000 cubic metres of sand from a paddock just next to the Tauranga Eastern Link motorway. And where we got the sand from is part of another project which you can see at our stand over there called Te Paurepo or Kaituna. So we'll be creating new wetland in the place where the sand came from. The sand was then transported during the wettest winter on record, so there were some issues, out onto site using a mixture of tractors and trailers and those roller tracked dump trucks. We then compacted it into position with the right slope so that it would stay there. It's designed to overtop during the biggest storm events, and we've also designed it so that it's got two what we call breaches or connections between the estuary on that side and the island on that side, so that fish can enter into the brackish and saline wetlands on Papahikawai and use it as a nursery and breeding ground. And it's amazing to see how quickly we've got flocks of stilts, we've got oyster catchers, we've got spoonbills, and of course lots of swans and geese, but lots of native species coming back to use that habitat quite quickly. So during the working bees, I think we've had 2 working bees last year and 2 working bees this year, and we've replanted about 30% of the 15 hectares of land that is going to be replanted over the next 10 years. And we're trying to go as fast as we can right now while we still have vehicle access along that causeway, because after that everything's going to have to come through on a quad bike with a trailer, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get the plants out to site. Not impossible, but just a little bit more difficult. Right, so I'm just going to finish with a few before and afters. So here's a couple of pictures of the bridge on the last day of causeway removal. Then we had a beautiful opening ceremony with Wharekone Hutimoni. I think Dean Flavel, you were there, Chairman of Te Maru o Kaituna River Authority, and some of our councillors. I've showed you these pictures before, but just showing you that transition from a grazed dairy paddock to a saline wetland of high ecological value. This is the most recent photo, so we didn't want to plant the whole chenier up in one go because no one's actually made these things in New Zealand before. And so we've tried to copy nature, and we've planted 3,800 plants in a variety of different assemblages to see what works and what doesn't work, and we'll come back next year and do the rest of it. Here's the other side of the island, so what we call the Papahikawai Creek site, and you can see that the replanted area stretches all the way down to the far end of the island in that right-hand picture. If you've been involved in any of the planting bees, or if you've got plans to join us in the future, thanks very much. It's very much a joint community effort. So here's a picture of part of that Papahikawai lagoon, before and after. And it's really satisfying, both for the owners, for us as a regional council, and for the people who use the estuary to see that kind of change happening. And this is the last photo I've got for you. So just showing you again from the other angle so you can see Makatu in the distance before and after. And I look forward to presenting to you again with some of the results from the main Kaituna rediversion project this time next year. Thank you.